Today we'll discuss NET 2020 paper, and this paper again had some beautiful questions. And the first question is, a square has center 3, 4 and one corner is at 1, 5. So we have this square having center at 3, 4 and one of the vertices 1, 5. We need to find another corner. Now we'll do it with complex numbers. Say this is Z1, this is Z2 and this is Z0. So we can write rotation of numbers as Z2 minus Z0 upon Z1 minus Z0, and it'll be equal to e to the power iota. This angle, it is 90. It can be clockwise or anti-clockwise. So it'll be plus or minus pi by 2. So we can write Z2 minus, what's Z0? Z0 is 3 plus 4 iota upon Z1 minus Z0. So there'll be minus 2 plus iota, and then e to the power iota pi by 2 is plus or minus iota. So we can write Z2 minus 3 plus 4 iota, and it'll be equal to minus plus 2 iota and then minus plus 1. So this Z2, it will be 3 plus 4 iota and then minus plus 1 plus 2 iota. Now we'll take minus sign. We'll get Z2 as 2 plus 2 iota, and if we'll take plus sign, we'll get Z2 as 4 plus 6 iota. So one of the corner will be 2, 2 and the other one will be 4, 6. So the only option that we have here is 2, 2, and that's your option number D. Now question number 1b, it's a simple integral. We can write this integral as this integration from 0 to 1, and then it'll be a square minus b square. Now we'll integrate. We can write this as 1 by 2 e to the power 2x from 0 to 1, and then minus x cube upon 3 from 0 to 1. Now we'll put the limits. So we'll get e square minus 1 by 2 and then minus 1 by 3. So it'll be 3e square minus 3 minus 2 upon 6. So the value of this integral will be 3e square minus 5 divided by 6. And that's your option number D. Now question number 1c is, we need to find the sum of this series. We can write the series as 1 square minus 2 square plus 3 square minus 4 square, and this series, it goes all the way up to 100 square. Now we can rewrite the series as 1 square 2 square up to 100 square, and then minus 2 times 2 square plus 4 square up to 100 square. We can write this as summation r square, where r varies from 1 to 100, and then minus, here we'll take 2 square common, so it'll be 8, and then we'll have this summation which is r varies from 1 to 50, and then summation r square. Now this is n plus 1, 2n plus 1 divided by 6, and then minus 8 n plus 1, 2n plus 1 whole divided by 6. Now we'll take 100 into 101 by 6 common. So it will be 100 into 101 divided by 6, and here we'll get 201 minus 4 into 51. So this value will be 10100 into minus 3 upon 6, and it will be minus 5050, which is your option number E. Now question 1d is, we need to find the largest value of this expression. This is y equals 3. Now we can write cos square x as 1 minus sine square x. So it will be 3 minus 3 sine square x plus 2 sine x plus 1. Now this y will be minus 3 sine square x plus 2 sine x plus 4. Now we need to find largest value for this expression. Now what we'll do is, assuming sin x as t, we'll define a function ft, which is minus 3t square plus 2t plus 4, where t lies between minus 1 and plus 1. We'll find absolute maximum value for this function in this given interval. We'll find f dash t. So we'll get minus 6t plus 2, and from here we'll get t equals 1 by 3. Now we'll find value of this function at minus 1, 1 and 1 by 3, and whichever is the largest value is the largest value for the given expression. So if we'll write f minus 1 will be minus 3 minus 2 plus 4. So this value is minus 1. Now what is the value at 1? Value at 1 will be minus 3 plus 2 plus 4. So it will be plus 3. And now the value at 1 by 3, this value will be minus 3 by 9 plus 2 by 3 plus 4. So this value will be 1 by 3 plus 4, and there will be 13 by 3. Now out of these three, the largest value is 13 by 3, and that is the answer to this question, option number B. Now question number E is, a line is tangent to the parabola y equals x square. So we'll draw this parabola. Now we are given a point a comma a square, and we have drawn a tangent at this point. Now we need to find area of this region. Now before that, we'll find equation of this tangent. We know that equation of tangent is given by t equals 0. So we can write this y as y plus a square upon 2 and then ax. Now we need to find this point of intersection with x-axis. So for x-axis, we'll put y as 0, and if we'll put y as 0, we'll get x as a by 2. So this point is a by 2 comma 0. Now in order to find this area, what we'll do is we'll find area of this parabola with the x-axis, and then we'll subtract area of this right angle triangle. So this area will be this integral from 0 to a y dx, which is x square dx, and then minus 1 by 2. Length of the base is a by 2 and height is a square. So this value will be a cube by 3 minus a cube by 4. So this area will be a cube by 12, and that's your option number C. Now question number F is, we'll need to simplify this expression in log. Now we are given product of first 10 natural numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Now this is 2 into 3, this is 2 square, this is 5, this is 2 into 3, this is 7, 2 cube, 3 square, and then 2 into 5. So now we can write this as 2 to the power 8, and then 3 to the power 4, 5 to the power 2 into 7. So we can write this expression in log as log 2 to the power 8 into 3 to the power 4 into 5 square into 7. Now we need to express this result in terms of log 7, log 6 and 2, and then this constant term. So actually we'll write this as 5 square into 2 square. So there will be 10 square, and then we are left with 2 to the power 6. Now we can write this as 6 to the power 4 into 2 square into 7. Now we'll simplify it. We'll get 2 log 10 base 10 plus 4 log 6 base 10 plus 2 log 2 base 10 plus log 7 base 10. Now this is 2. So it will be 2 plus 2 log 2 base 10 plus 4 log 6 base 10 plus log 7 base 10, and that's your option number C. Now question number G is, a cubic equation has a turning points at 1, 2 and 3, D. We need to find the value of D. Now we know that f dash x, it must be of the form sum a and then x minus 1 into x minus 3. So we can write this f dash x as a x square minus 4x plus 3. If we'll integrate, we can write fx as a x cube upon 3 minus 2x square plus 3x plus c. Now we already know leading coefficient is 1, so value of a should be 3. Now we'll put a as 3, we'll get this function fx as x cube minus 6x square plus 9x plus c. Now first we'll find the value of c. We are given that when x is 1, fx is 2. So this is 2 and it'll be 1 minus 6 plus 9 and then plus c. So value of c will be minus 2. So this function fx will be x cube minus 6x square plus 9x minus 2. Now we need to find value of this function when the value of x is 3. So value of f3, it will be 27 minus 54 plus 27 minus 2, and this value is minus 2. That is, the value of d should be minus 2, and that's your option number B. Now question number H is the following 5 graph in some order plot y equals fx, gx, hx and df upon dx and dg upon dx. We need to find out what is the plot of hx. Now we'll take this first function. When x is less than minus 2, this function is increasing. So here f dash x, it should be positive. Between minus 2 and 0, derivative should be negative. Between minus 2 and 2, again it should be positive. And then after 2, this again should be negative. Now we look at this graph E. Here before 2, this is positive. Between 2 and 0, it is negative. Between 0 and 2, it is positive. And then again this is negative. So graph of E is derivative of graph of A. So this E, it is matched with A. Now we look at this function, second function. This function increases till this point, somewhere after 2. And then in between approximately minus 1 and plus 1, this function, it decreases. So here derivative should be positive, here derivative should be negative, and again derivative here should be positive. So slope of this graph, it corresponds to this function C. So we have two functions f and g and the graphs of their derivatives. So that means this odd one out function D has to be your function hx. So answer to this question is option number B. Now question number I is, in the range of minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2, how many values of x are there for which sum to infinity for this series is equal to 10x? Now we know that for 10x, x should not be odd multiple of pi by 2. So x cannot take the value plus or minus 90 degrees, which actually is not given in the question. And also denominator cannot be 0. So x cannot take the value 0. Now we know that sum of the series is finite. Now sum of a GP is finite only when its common ratio lies between minus 1 and plus 1. So what is the common ratio for this series? Common ratio for this series is 1 upon 10x. So this sum will be finite when the value of cot x lies between minus 1 and plus 1. Now we look at the graph of cot x between minus 90 and plus 90. Now this is minus 90, this is plus 90. Now the value of cot x is 1 at 45 and this value is minus 1 at minus 45. Now this cot x, it should lie between minus 1 and plus 1. So this angle, it should either lie between 45 and 90 or it should lie between minus 90 and minus 45. Now we'll find sum of this GP. Sum of this GP will be A, which is 1 upon 10x minus 1 minus R, which is again 1 upon 10x, and this value will be equal to 10x. So we can write 1 upon 10x minus 1 will be equal to 10x. So we'll get this equation as 10 square x minus 10x minus 1 equals 0. So value of 10x must be 1 plus minus under root 5 by 2. Now we'll need to find number of solution in the interval minus 90 to plus 90. We'll draw the graph of 10x. So between minus 90 and plus 90, we'll have this graph of 10x. And here we need not consider graph between minus 45 and plus 45. So we are not going to consider the portion of graph between minus 45 and plus 45. Now we'll draw straight lines at y equals 1 minus under root 5 by 2 and y equals 1 plus under root 5 by 2. Now 1 minus root 5 by 2 is 1 minus 2 point something. So it'll be minus 1 point something, and 1 point something is minus 0.7 something. So if we'll draw a straight line, it will intersect the graph in between minus 45 and plus 45, where we do not have any solution. But if we'll take plus sign, we can write this as 2.2 something plus 1, 3.2 something. 3.2 something divided by 2 is 1.6 something. So we'll draw a graph at y equals 1 plus under root 5 by 2. It intersects the graph of 10x in the region 45 degrees to 90 degrees. So there is only one solution to this equation. So the answer to this question is option number B. Now question J is, consider a square of side length 2 and center 0, 0 and a circle with radius r and center at 0, 0. So we have this square with center at origin and length of the side 2 units, and then we have a circle with radius r and center O. Now it says let AR be the area of the region that is inside the circle but outside the square, and BR be the area of the region that is inside the square but outside the circle. We need to find which of the following is a sketch of AR plus BR. Now we'll consider this first case when the value of R is less than or equal to 1. Now when the value of R is less than or equal to 1, this circle, it will lie inside this square. Now when the circle lies inside the square, value of AR, which is area of the region which is inside the circle but outside the square, it will be 0. And BR is area of the square which is outside the circle. So this area will be 4 minus pi r square. So here this function which is say FR, that is AR plus BR, it will be simply 4 minus pi r square. Now when the value of R is 0, value of this function, it should be 4, and then this is parabola opening downwards. So that means we can eliminate this option C. Now we'll consider this next case when this square lies inside the circle. That is when the value of R is greater than or equal to root 2. Value of AR, it will be pi r square minus 4, and the value of BR will be 0. So we'll get this function FR as pi r square minus 4. Now in this case, it will be a parabola opening upwards. Now we'll find value of this function when the value of R is 2. We'll get this value as 4 into pi minus 1. So there'll be 2.14 into 4. That should be 8 point something. So it cannot be this option A and it cannot be option B. Now we know that both AR and BR, they are areas. Now we need to identify whether AR plus BR, can it be 0? AR plus BR, it can only be 0 if AR is 0 and BR is 0. And AR is 0 and BR is 0 only when this circle becomes a square. But this circle cannot become a square. So this function, it can never take the value 0. So we can eliminate this option E. So the graph of AR plus BR has to be this option D. Now question number 2 is, we are given two functions fn and gn which are defined for positive integers n as fn is 2n plus 1 and gn is 4n. Now it says this question is about set S of positive integers that can be achieved by applying in some order combination of f's and g's to the number 1. Say for example, g of f of g1, it is 36. Now the first question is, write the binary expansion of 100. Now we can write this 100 as 64 plus 32 plus 4. This is 2 to the power 6 plus 2 to the power 5 and then 2 square. So binary equivalent of 100, it will be coefficient of 2 to the power 6 is 1, coefficient of 2 to the power 5 is 1, coefficient of 2 to the power 4 and 2 to the power 3, they are both 0. So it will be 0, 0. And then coefficient of 2 square, it is 1. And then for 1 and 0, it will be 0. So binary equivalent of this number 100 will be 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0. Now part 2 is, show that 100 is an S by describing explicitly a combination of F's and G's that achieves 100. Now first, we look at these two functions in terms of their binary equivalent. Now suppose we have any number n, which is ak 2 to the power k, ak minus 1, 2 to the power of k minus 1, plus a naught. Now if we write fn will be 2 times ak 2 to the power k, ak minus 1, 2 to the power k minus 1, plus a naught, plus 1. So it will be ak 2 to the power of k plus 1, ak minus 1, 2 to the power of k, a naught into 2, and plus 1 into 2 to the power 0. So the number which previously in binary was ak minus 1, a naught will now become ak minus 1, a naught and 1. So if we'll take this function f on any binary number, we'll introduce this digit 1 to the end. Now we'll take this other function gn. This gn will be 4, which is 2 square into n, which is ak 2 to the power k plus a naught. So it will be ak 2 to the power of k plus 2, a naught 2 square plus 0 into 2 and 0 into 2 to the power 0. So the number which was previously ak minus 1, a naught in binary will now be ak minus 1, a naught, and then it'll introduce 2 zeros. So what these two functions will specifically do is either they'll introduce 1 or they'll introduce 0, 0 at the end of any number. Now we need to express 100 explicitly as a combinations of f's and g's. Now what we'll do is we'll start with 1. Now we need 1, 1. So we have to introduce 1. So we'll take f1. Now we have 1, 1. We'll need 2 zeros after that. So we'll write g of f1. Now once we have 2 zeros, we'll again need 1. So again we'll take this function f, and after that we'll again need 2 zeros. So it'll be g. So the combination of f's and g's that gives us this combination 100, it will be gf gf1. And we can verify it also. What is f1? f1 is 3. So it'll be gf g3. Now what is g3? g3 is 12. So it'll be gf into 12. What's f12? f12 is 25. So it'll be g of 25, and then g of 25 is 100. So the required combination is gf-gf1. Now the third part is we need to show that 200 is not in S. Now we'll write this number 200. We can write 200 as 128 plus 64 plus 8, which is 2 to the power 7 plus 2 to the power 6 plus 2 cube. Now we can write binary equivalent of 200. 1, 1. Now there is no 5 and no 4. So it will be 0, 0 and then 1 and then 0, 0, 0. Now since we have 3 zeros here, this number, it cannot be in this set S because there is no transformation which maps 3 zeros or 1 0. Now the fourth one is show that if n is an S, then there is only one combination of applying F's and G's in order to achieve n. Now we have already established that for any number, if we'll apply F, we introduce 1 to the right, and if we apply G, we'll introduce 0, 0. So we have any binary number, starting from the first number, if we have to introduce 1, we have to introduce F, and if we have to introduce 2 zeros, we have to introduce G. So there'll be unique combinations of F's and G's that will give us this number n. So for this, if we'll take this example 67, now 67 is 64 plus 2 plus 1. So which is 2 to the power 6 plus 2 plus 1. So this number will be 1, 0, 0, 0, 0 and then 1, 1. Now we'll start with 1. Now first we have 2 zeros. So there'll be G and then again 0. So it'll again be G and then we have this 1. So it'll be this F and then we have this F. So the unique combination possible for this number 67 will be F, F, G and G, which matches with the given sequence. Now part 5th is let UK be the number of elements n of s that lie in the range 2 to the power k and 2 to the power k plus 1, we need to show that uk plus 2 is equal to uk plus 1 plus uk. So we are given number of numbers that lie in between 2 to the power k and 2 to the power of k plus 1. So number of elements in this region, it is denoted by uk. Now if we look at uk plus 2, uk plus 2 will be numbers that lie between 2 to the power of k plus 2 and 2 to the power of k plus 3. Now 2 to the power k plus 2 will be a binary number having k plus 2 digits. Now we need to find a recurring formula for uk plus 2. Now we can have uk plus 2 from uk plus 1. Suppose we have uk plus 1 and we introduce a 1 at the end, then we'll get this number as fn. So either it can be uk plus 1 or we'll take uk numbers and then we introduce 2 zeros at the end and there'll be this uk. So for any k greater than equal to 0, uk plus 2 is equal to uk plus 1 plus u1. Now the sixth part is, let sk be the number of elements n in S that lie in the range 1 to 2 to the power k plus 1. We need to show that sk plus 2 equals sk plus 1 plus sk plus 1. Now this sk will be nothing but it is u0 plus u1. Now we'll take u0. What is the value of u0? u0 is 1. And what is u1? u1 is also 1. Now in part 5, we have already proved uk plus 2 is equal to uk plus 1 plus uk. So we can write u2 as u1 plus u0, u3 as u2 plus u1 and uk plus 2 as uk plus 1 plus uk. Now what we'll also do is we'll add u0 plus u1 both sides. Now this summation from u0 to uk plus 2, it is nothing but it is sk plus 2. Now taking this u0 and this first series, so from u0 to uk plus 1 will be sk plus 1. Now u0 to uk will be simply sk plus u1. What is the value of u1? u1 is 1. So from here we can say sk plus 2 will be sk plus 1 plus sk plus 1, and this completes our proof. Now question number 3 is, below is a sketch of curve S with equation y square minus y and it is equal to x cube minus x. Now this curve, it crosses x-axis at origin and at a comma 0 and b comma 0, where a is less than 0 and b is greater than 0. The curve only exists for x lying between alpha and beta and x greater than equal to gamma. The 3 points with coordinates alpha delta, beta delta and gamma delta are all on the curve. Now the first question is, what are the values of a and b? A and b, they are point of intersection of this curve with x-axis. For intersection, we'll put y as 0. Now we'll put y as 0, we'll get x cube minus x equals 0. So we'll get the value of x as 0, minus 1 and plus 1. So the value of a should be minus 1 and the value of b should be plus 1. Now the second part is, by completing the square or otherwise, find the value of delta. Now at delta, we are getting same value of y for 3 different values of x. Now we'll complete this perfect square. We can write y square minus y plus 1 by 4 and it'll be x cube minus x plus 1 by 4. So we'll get y minus 1 by 2 square and it'll be x cube minus x plus 1 by 4. We'll write y as 1 by 2 plus or minus under root of x cube minus x plus 1 by 4. Now for 3 different values of x, we are only getting one value of y. So we can get one value of y only when this expression is 0. So when this expression is 0, value of y, it should be 1 by 2. So from here we can say value of delta has to be 1 by 2. Now this third part is we need to explain why this curve is symmetric about y equals delta line. Now delta is 1 by 2. So as we can see, y is 1 by 2 plus minus some k. So we'll get both the values 1 by 2 plus k and 1 by 2 minus k. And that is the reason this graph, it is symmetric about y equals 1 by 2 line, or it is symmetric about y equals delta. This fourth one is find a cubic equation in X which has roots alpha, beta and gamma and justify your. Now alpha, beta and gamma are the X coordinate of the point where the value of y is 1 by 2. Now we know that value of y will be 1 by 2. When this expression within the square root, it should be 0. So the cubic equation for which we'll get y equals delta is x cube minus x plus 1 by 4 equals 0, or we can express this as 4x cube minus 4x plus 1 equals 0. So this is the required cubic equation. Now what is the fifth part? Fifth part is by considering factorization of this cubic, find the values of alpha plus beta plus gamma. So we need to find alpha plus beta plus gamma, which is nothing but S1. Now S1 in this case, it will be simply 0. So from here we'll get this value as alpha plus beta plus gamma. It should be 0. Now the sixth one is, let C denote the circle which has the points alpha delta and beta delta as ends of a diameter. Write down the equation of C and show that C intersects S at two other points and find their common X coordinate in terms of gamma. Now we know that we can write equation of this circle as X minus alpha plus beta by 2 whole square plus y minus 1 by 2 square, and this value, it must be equal to r square. Now y minus 1 by 2 square is nothing but x cube minus x plus 1 by 4. So we can write this equation as x. Now what is the value of alpha plus beta? Value of alpha plus beta is minus gamma. So it will be x plus gamma by 2 whole square plus x cube minus x plus 1 by 4, and this value, it should be equal to r square. Now we can write this equation as x cube plus x square plus gamma minus 1x plus 1 by 4 minus r square equals 0. Now it's a cubic equation. Now since this circle and curve, they both pass through alpha delta and beta delta, two of the solutions for this equation will be alpha and beta. So two roots of this equation, they are alpha, beta. We need to find this third common root, say t. Now we can write alpha plus beta plus t, and it'll be equal to what? Minus 1. Now alpha plus beta is nothing but minus gamma. So minus gamma plus t is minus 1. So value of t is simply gamma minus 1. So this common x coordinate in terms of gamma is simply gamma minus 1, and that is the answer to this question. Now question number 4 is, we are given definition of even function and odd function, and actually in the paper they have printed wrongly. F minus x is minus of f minus x. Condition for odd function is f minus x is minus f plus x. So we'll assume the right condition and then we'll solve this question. Now the first part is, what symmetry does the graph of y equals fx of an even function have? Now when we have even function, fx is equal to f minus x. So for all the values on the right, we have a corresponding value on the left. So an even function, it is symmetric about y-axis. Now part B is, what symmetry does the graph of y equals fx of an odd function have? Now if the function is odd, then at x equal to a, if we have a value b, then at minus a, we'll have a value minus b. So odd functions, they are symmetric about origin, or they have origin symmetry. They are symmetric in opposite quadrant. We can also say they have rotation symmetry. Now part B is, use these symmetries to show that the derivative of an even function is an odd function, and that the derivative of an odd function is an even function, and we are not supposed to use chain rule. Now we consider any even function. For corresponding points, we'll have slopes of opposite signs, but same numerical value. So for an even function, its derivative, it will be an odd function. Now what about an odd function? If we consider an odd function, if we have a positive slope, then for the corresponding point for x less than 0, this slope will again be positive. And if we have a negative slope, again for corresponding point, we'll have a negative slope with same numerical value. So in this case, derivative of an odd function, it will be an even function. Now part 2 is for theta lying between minus 45 and plus 45, the line L makes an angle theta with the line y equals x as drawn in the figure. Let A theta be the area of triangle which is bounded by x-axis and the line x plus y equals 1 and this line L. Now part is, let theta lying between 0 and 45, we need to show geometrically why A theta plus A minus theta is 1 by 2. Now this angle, it is 45 and this angle will be 45 minus theta. Now we'll write area of this triangle. Area of this triangle will be A theta and plus this area, and this area is suppose B theta. And area of this triangle, it is 1. So from here we can say value of A theta plus B theta is 1. Now we'll take minus theta. Then suppose this is minus theta. This angle will be 45 minus theta. So this 45 so this area which is A minus theta is actually equal to B theta. So from here we can say A theta plus A minus theta, it will always be equal to 1. Now this B part is for theta lying between 0 to 45, determine a formula for A theta. Now what we'll do is we'll find equation of this line L. So for this L, we know that y equals m. What is m? M is 10 theta plus 45x. So it will be y equals 1 plus 10 theta upon 1 minus 10 theta x. We'll find y coordinate of this point of intersection of these two lines. So this other line is x plus y equals 1. We'll put the value of x. So we'll put the value of x, we'll write 1 minus 10 theta upon 1 plus 10 theta plus 1 into y, and it is equal to 1. So from here we'll get the value of y as 1 plus 10 theta upon 2. So this height, it is 1 plus 10 theta upon 2. This base is 1. So area of this triangle A theta will be 1 by 2 into 1 plus 10 theta by 2 into 1. So from here we can write A theta, it is 1 plus 10 theta by 4. Now we need to draw the graph of this function. Now we can write this function as y equals 1 by 4 plus 1 by 4 10 theta. So we'll start with the graph of 1 by 4 10 theta between minus 45 and plus 45. So this is plus 1 by 4 and this is minus 1 by 4, and then we'll take the transformation y minus 1 by 4 equals 1 by 4 10 theta. So we'll need to shift this graph 1 by 4 unit upwards. Now we can draw this graph like this. So this is 0, this is 1 by 4 and this is 1 by 2. So that is the graph of A theta. Now part D is, in light of identity in part 2a, what symmetries does the graph of A theta have? So this graph, it has a rotation symmetry about y equals 1 by 4. Now part E is, without explicitly differentiating, explain why second derivative is 0 when theta is equal to 0. Now we'll shift the graph back at origin. We know that it is an odd function. And if it is an odd function, then dA upon d theta is an even function. If dA upon d theta is an even function, then d square A upon d theta square, it will be an odd function. And we know that for odd function, f of minus 0 is minus f0, that is value at 0 is 0. So if d square A upon d theta square is odd, then this function will take the value 0 when the value of theta is 0. So this is how we solve such questions. Now question number 5 is some sort of puzzle. It says Miriam and Adam agree to relieve the boredom of the school holiday by eating sweets, but their mother insists that they limit their consumption by obeying the following rules. Miriam eats as many sweets on any day as there have been sunny days during the holidays so far, including the day in question. Adam eats sweets only on rainy days. If day k of holiday is rainy, then he eats k sweets on that day. So they have given this example. Suppose day 1 was a rainy day. In that case, Adam gets 1 sweet and Miriam gets 0. Now suppose the second day is sunny. Then Miriam gets 1, Adam gets 0. Suppose third is again sunny, Miriam gets another. So it will be 2 and then Adam gets 0. Now suppose this is rainy. So Miriam, she'll get 2 because previously there have been 2 sunny days, and then Adam will get as many as the days. So Adam will get 4 sweets. Now the first question is, if the holiday has 30 days, 15 of which are sunny and 15 are rainy, what arrangement of sunny and rainy days will lead Miriam to eat the greatest number of sweets, and what arrangement would lead to the least number? Now for Miriam, this number will be greatest when first 15 days are sunny days followed by 15 rainy days. On the first day, she'll have 1. On second day, she'll have 2. On 15th day, she'll have 15. And then for each day after that, she'll keep getting 15 sweets. So total number of sweets, in this case, it will be 1 plus 2 plus 3 up to 15 plus 15 into 15. So it will be n plus 1 by 2 plus 225. So it is 120 plus 225 and there will be 345. So the maximum number of sweets that Miriam can have is 345. Now when this number will be minimum, will happen when we have first 15 rainy days and then last 15 sunny days. So now she'll get 1, 2, 3 up to 15. So here total number of sweets she'll get is 15 into 15 plus 1 by 2 and there'll be 120. So for Miriam, greatest number is 345 and the least number is 120, and that's your part 1. Now second part is show that in the two cases mentioned in part 1, Adam eats the same number of sweets as Miriam. Now we'll consider this first case when we have first 15 sunny days and last 15 rainy days. Number of sweets that Adam will have is, now this is day 16, so it will be 16 plus 17 up to 30. So it is nothing but an AP. So it will be n by 2 a plus L. So there will be 46. 23 into 15 is nothing but 345. So in the first case, number of sweets that Adam will have is same as number of sweets that Miriam will have. Now for the second case, when it is first 15 rainy days followed by next 15 sunny days, Adam will get 1, 2, 3 up to 15. So in that case, total number of sweets that Adam will have is 1 plus 2 plus 3 up to 15, which is nothing but 120, which again is same as that of Miriam. Now question number 3 is, suppose in a sequence of sunny and rainy days, we arrange to swap a rainy day with a sunny day that immediately follows it. How does the total number of sweets eaten by Miriam change when we make the swap? And what about total number of sweets eaten by Adam? Now suppose we have any sequence of rainy and sunny days, and in the sequence we have a part where we have this rainy day followed by sunny day. Now suppose this day is K and this day is K plus 1. Now if we'll swap R and S, then Here we'll have S and here we'll have R. Now in the first configuration, number of sweets received by Miriam and Adam on these 2 days, it will be say X and X plus 1 for Miriam, and here we'll have K and 0. Now if we swap S and R, in that case, number of sweets received by Miriam will now be X plus 1 followed by X plus 1, and here number of sweets received by Adam will be 0 on the first day and then K plus 1 on this second day. Now previously Miriam was getting 2x plus 1 sweets. Now she is getting 2x plus 2, and previously Adam was getting K sweets. Now Adam is getting K plus 1 sweet. So if we swap rainy and sunny day, then total number of sweets eaten by Miriam, it is increased by 1, and for Adam also total number of sweets will increase by 1. Now the fourth question is, if the holiday has 15 sunny days and 15 rainy days, must Miriam and Adam eat the same number of sweets in total? Explain your answer. Now in part 1 we have already seen that number of sweets eaten by Miriam and Adam, it is same. And in part 3 we have seen that the total number of sweets eaten by them, it changes by the same amount if we make the swap. So starting from the configuration where they get equal number of sweets, if we swap any rainy and sunny day, then total number of sweets eaten by both Miriam and Adam will change by the same amount. So whatever may be the configuration, as long as they have 15 sunny days and 15 rainy days, both of them, they'll eat the same number of sweets. And this is how we solve such questions. Now question number 6 is, the cancellation of Wimbledon tournament has led to a world surplus of tennis balls, and Santa has decided to use them as stocking fillers. He comes down the chimney with n identical tennis balls and he finds k named stockings waiting for him. Let G and K be number of ways in which Santa can put n identical balls into k different stockings. Now part 1 is, what is the value of G1K? Now here we have one ball and we have k stockings. Now once we have one ball and k stockings, this ball, it can go to any one stocking. So G1K, it is nothing but KC1, which is simply K, and that's our first part. Now the second part is, what is the value of Gn1? So now we have n balls and we have only one stocking. In how many ways we can distribute these n balls in one stocking? There is only one way possible. All these n balls must go to this given stocking. So the value of Gn1, it is 1. Now the third part is, suppose we have n balls and k children, then Santa can either give the first ball to first child and then distribute remaining balls among all k children, or he can give first child none and distribute all the remaining balls among the remaining children. Use this observation to formulate an equation relating the value of G and K to other values taken by G. So here we need to find this recurring relation when we have to distribute n balls to k stockings. So now we have k stockings. Now here we will consider two mutually exclusive and exhaustive cases. Case 1, when the first child gets one ball and then remaining n minus 1 balls are distributed among all k children, or we'll have the second case when first child gets none, then all the n balls, they get distributed in k minus 1 children. So this G and K, it will be this first case. Now in this first case, number of balls is n minus 1, number of stockings is k. So it will be simply G n minus 1 k. Now plus, now here we have n balls and k minus 1 stocking. So we get this recurring relation which is G n k and it will be equal to G n minus 1 k plus G n k minus 1. Now this fourth one is, what's the value of G75? Now we can use this recurring relation to find G75. So this G75 will be G74 plus G65. Now again we'll use recurring relation here. We'll get G73 plus G64. Here we can write G64 G55, which is G73 plus 2G64 plus G55. Now we'll keep using this recurring relation and using the fact that the value of G1k is k and value of Gn1 is 1, we'll get this result as 330. Another simple way of solving it can be using linear equations. Suppose first talking gets x1 balls and kth talking at xk balls, then total number of balls is n. We need to find number of non-negative integral solutions of this equation. Number of non-negative integral solutions of this equation is given by n plus r minus 1 c r minus 1. Now n in this case is 7 and r is 5. So it will be 7 plus 5 minus 1 c 5 minus 1 and there will be 11c4 and value of 11c4 is 330. So we'll get this value as 330. Now the fifth one is after the first house, Rudolph reminds Santa that he ought to give at least one ball to each child. Let h and k be number of ways of distributing the balls according to this restriction. What is the value of h75? Now we go by linear equation method. Then this case corresponds to number of positive integral solutions. Number of positive integral solutions is given by n minus 1 c r minus 1. So in this case it will be 7 minus 1 5 minus 1 and there will be 6c4 and 6c4 is nothing but 15. So value of h75 will be 15. Now another way of solving the same question can be, we are given 7 balls and there are 5 stockings and each stocking must have at least one ball. So what we'll do is from these 7 balls, we'll give one ball each to 5 stockings. Then we are left with 2 balls which are to be distributed in 5 stockings. So that means this h75, this actually is equivalent to G25. Now G25 is G24 plus G15 and value of G15 is 5. Now G24 is G23 plus G14 and G14 is 4. Now this is G22 plus G13 plus 9. G13 is 3 and we know that G22 is 3. So it will be 3 plus 3 plus 9 and that will be 15. So we can also solve this question using the recurring relation which we have proved in part 3. Now question number 7 is, Quantiles is a game for a single player. It is played with an inexhaustible supply of tiles, each bearing one of the symbols A, B or C. In each move, the player lays down a rows of tiles containing exactly one A and one B, but varying number of C's. The rules are as follows. The player may play the basic row C, A, C, B, C, C and C, C, A, C, B, C, C, C. Now the player has already played the row of the form R, A, S, B, T and X, A, Y, B, Z, where each of R, S, T, X, Y, Z represents a sequence of C's. Then he or she may add the row R, X, A, S, Y, B, T, Z, in which copies of the sequence of C's from the previous rows are concatenated with intervening A and B, and this is called a join move. The original rows remain and may be used again in subsequent join moves. No other rows may be played. Now the first question is, give 2 examples of rows other than the basic rows that may be played in the game. One of the move can be, we can join this row with itself, then we'll get C, C, A, C, C, B, C, 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 or we can join these 2 rows. We'll get C, 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 A, C, C, B, C, 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 C and C. So we can perform these join operations. Now second question is, give 2 examples of rows each containing exactly one A and one B that may never be played and explain why. So these 2 basic examples can be, we can take AB. Now this AB, it cannot be played because in both the basic rows in between AB we have C's. So this can never be played. And also suppose we take CB, CA, CC. Now this also again cannot be played because A precedes B. A cannot come after B. So these are the examples of rows that may never be played. Now this third part is, let Cn denote an unbroken sequence of n tiles, each labeled with C. Can the goal row C64, A, C48, B, C112 be achieved? And we need to justify our answer. So we have two basic rows, CA, CB, CC, and we have CCA, CB, CCC. Now suppose we perform join operations on X row of first kind and Y rows of second kind. Then we'll get CX, C2YA, CX, CYB, and it'll be C2X and C3Y. So we'll get this expression as C x plus 2YA, C x plus Y, B, C 2x plus 3Y. So these are the permissible results that we'll have from these operations. Now for this number, this is 48. So we'll get x plus y as 48. This is 64. We'll get x plus 2y as 64. And then this is 112. So 2x plus 3y is 112. Now we'll solve them. We'll get the value of y as 16. And if y is 16, we'll get the value of x as 32. Now we'll put x and y in this third equation. We'll get 64 plus 48, which is 112. So these two values of x and y, they satisfy this third equation. So it is possible to have this combination c to the power 64, a c to the power 48, b c to the power 112. Now what about this fourth one? It says, can the goal c to the power 128, a c to the power 48, b c to the power 176 be achieved? Now here in this case, value of x plus y is 48 and x plus 2y is 128. Now we'll subtract, we'll get the value of y as 80, and if the value of y is 80, we'll get the value of x as minus 32. Now x cannot take a negative value. So that means this goal row, it cannot be achieved. Now fifth one is goal row C31, AC16 and BC47 is achievable, so that it can be reached with 7 join moves. Now in this case, value of x plus y is 16, x plus 2y is 31, and 2x plus 3y is 47. Now we'll subtract, we'll get the value of y is 15. Now we'll put y as 15, we'll get x as 1. Now we'll put it in this equation, we'll get 2 plus 45, which is 47. So these two values, they satisfy this given condition. So that means this row is achievable. Now we need to show that it can be reached with 7 join moves. So we have 1x and 15 y's. So we can start with our basic row A. First basic row is C1A C1 BC square, and second basic row is C square AC1 BC cube. Now we'll join second row with itself, and that's our first join. So we'll get C4A C square B C to the power 6. Now we'll join third with itself. That's our second join. And we'll get C8A C4 B C to the power 12. Now again, we'll join fourth with itself. So that's our third join. So we'll get C16A C to the power 8 B C to the power 24. Now we cannot join it because then it'll be greater than 31. Next, we'll join these two rows. So we'll join them. That's our fourth join, and there'll be C cube A C square B C to the power 5. Now we'll join this 3 and 6. Now that's our fifth join, and it'll be C7 A C to the power 4 B C to the power 11. Now we'll join 7 with 4. So there'll be a sixth join, and there'll be this eighth row, c to the power 15, a, c to the power 8, b, c to the power 23, and finally we'll join these two rows, and that's your seventh join, and now it'll be c to the power 31, a, c to the power 16, b, c to the power 47. So it can be reached with 7 join moves. Now sixth part is, in any game, we call a row useless if it repeats an earlier row or it is not used in subsequent join move. What is maximum number of join moves in a game that ends with C31, AC16, BC47? So that is the same result. Now for the same result, we have X 1 time and Y 15 times. So what we can do is, rather than joining these new rows, we can join Y with Y to form Y2, Y3 and Y15, and then we add it to X. So in this case, we'll have 16 different rows, and in order to join these 16 different rows, we need 15 joins. So the maximum number of join moves will be 15. And that is the answer to this question.